Da 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 da. It's Devil's Advo-Cat.
Hi guys.
Today we're back with another rapid fire
Yeah.
of classic books.
I'm gonna be defending some literature today.
So here is I have a list from the Insider. It's 12 classic books that don't deserve their praise. Sorry.
Okay.
It's by Chelsea Greenwood. This was published on November 2nd of 2018 at 2 p.m.
Nice.
I can share it to my Facebook, my Twitter, my LinkedIn, and I can email it to somebody.
Nice.
That's cool. So we're just gonna jump right in.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Pride and Prejudice.
Pride and Prejudice. You guys know how much I love Jane Austen. I definitely wasn't complaining about Persuasion less than 2 minutes ago before I came on the podcast.
It was less than 2 minutes ago.
Jane Austen has a very eloquent way of writing. When you think of literary prose, chances are the style of writing that you're thinking about is Jane Austen. And Pride and Prejudice is her best work, I'd say. Because I've read all the Jane Austen.
Yes.
I've read 2.5 Jane Austen novels, but Pride and Prejudice is the best one.
Damn.
Because it's very nuanced. It's, and I've complained about it in the past because of, like, all of the subplots are romance, but if you want to read a romance, why not throw some more romance on there? If that's your thing,
romance,
that's great.
So...
It's a good character study. You identify with Elizabeth. That's what you want, right?
Many authors have since had a bone to pick with the story. Our author Charlotte Bronte, for example, thought the book offered merely a surface-level look of society at the time. How would you respond to that?
I would respond to that by saying that Charlotte... I'm going to go on the offensive again, even though I said I wasn't going to anymore. Charlotte Bronte's book did the exact... Like, there has to be some kind of foundation before you can transition into the deeper layers of layers of society, because otherwise it can be really jarring. And Charlotte Bronte's book was very much that. She wrote Jane Eyre, and it was like, it was society on the surface, and then also there was a guy who locked his wife away in the attic, and that's not normal. That's not better. It's jarring and weird.
And yet, she still married him at the end.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about that. You know what we're also going to talk about is the Chronicles of Narnia. It's problematic, apparently.
It's allegorical. Is it... That's the thing. Is it problematic or is it allegorical? I'd say the latter, honestly. And fucking Aslan? Cute. Aslan. Aslan? I don't know how to say his name. He's a cutie. He's a lion. He's a Jesus lion. Who doesn't want to read a book with a Jesus lion in it?
I mean, that's true. But also, one of, looks like, Philip Pullman, an author, says, I realized that what he was up to was propaganda in the cause of religion he believed in.
Yeah.
It's religious propaganda.
Everything is religious propaganda.
One girl was sent to hell because she was getting interested in clothes and boys. The fuck?
Yep. Huh. I don't remember that happening. Is that how that went?
I don't know. I've never read the Chronicles of Narnia.
It is. I will say that it was a little preachy, but I would...
Because there's a Jesus lion?
I would say that it's better to be transparently preachy so that people can see what you're doing rather than, like, secretly preachy, where you're brainwashing people. C.S. Lewis, not subtle about all of the Christian stuff, so...
How about Ulysses by James Joyce?
Oh boy.
It's one of the most important works of modern literature, but not everyone agrees that the book is so great.
Would you say that you don't like the Iliad?
It's fine.
Yeah. So it's Ulysses.
Okay. Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens has some serious problems.
Well, society also had some serious problems. So holding up a mirror to that society, can't blame Charles Dickens for that.
That's true.
Yeah. Sticking to it. I feel good.
Don Quixote.
Oh, I definitely finished Don Quixote. I was like, you know what's good is this thing that I'm reading, and I'm going to finish it.
That's what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Author Martin Amos?
Mm-hmm.
Amos.
Famous.
Found it unpalatable. And wrote, he should have wrote this. While clearly an impregnable masterpiece, Don Quixote suffers from one fairly serious flaw. That of outright unreadability.
One of the keys of literature, one of what makes something literature is preserving the language of the time. Mm-hmm. Don Quixote does that for sure. You feel like you're in a different time period when you're reading Don Quixote.
You feel like you just got nothing to fucking do because you're sleeping all the time.
There.
Finnegan's Wake.
Uh-huh.
By James Joyce.
Mm-hmm. A lot of James Joyce on here. Why are we picking on James Joyce?
We're not picking on James Joyce, we're picking on his books.
Oh.
Finnegan's Wake. A persistent snore in the next room.
It's not fair to have two James Joyce things on here.
It's nothing but a formless and dull mass of phony folklore.
It's a different... It takes folklore to a literary standard.
So boring.
If you don't like Finnegan's Wake, maybe you don't like literature.
Damn. Okay, so this is the one I suggested we leave this off, but Kat was insistent that she defend Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov.
Yeah.
That one. What the fuck? What are we doing here?
I'm gonna defend Lolita. So Lolita is one of those... It's a very disturbing read. It's intended to be disturbing, and it comes across like that. Very much so. It's hard to, like, sit down and read Lolita. That being said, Nabokov has some of the most amazing... He's got an amazing grasp of sound. Mm-hmm. Where that's something that normally you associate with poetry. You very rarely read classic literature that has like such a good grasp of the nuances of language. Mm-hmm. And it's actually something that they just talked about. I just finished Mouthful of Air by Anthony Burgess, and he says that if you want to truly understand language if you want to understand the phonemes of language, that you should read Nabokov. And I 100,000% agree with that. If you want to understand how to fit words together, if you want to understand phonemes, if you want to understand just like the euphonics of a language, you cannot do wrong with Nabokov. And if you're going to read and this is something I also wanted to talk about just a little bit in I don't know a ton about Nabokov as like a person, but like there is a lot of there's that debate going on right now about separating the art from the artist, which I don't think is always something that you should do, but there's a difference between not respecting an artist and there's like a difference between supporting someone and just like erasing them, and erasing them doesn't really fix the problem. Appreciating their talents and learning from them in a way that's less problematic is something that's very good. I'd say that applies wholeheartedly to the subject matter of Lolita, but the language. Like, the opening line of Lolita is, like, Lolita, the love of my life, light of my life, fire of my loins, I think. Right? Which is creepy and bad, as is the book, but the flow of the sound, and it's like, there are so many, every I in the sentence is pronounced in a different way. And it's like, it's just a very technically impressive novel. It might be one of the most technically impressive novels ever written.
So technically, it's very impressive.
So maybe don't enjoy Lolita, but learn from it.
Right. Maybe get learn from the not so terrible sections of it. Yeah. Like, study those so you don't have to read the terrible ones.
Or read a book. There are a lot of really amazing books about Lolita. Mm-hmm. I've just been reading about it in regards to language, because it was mentioned in Mouthful of Air. But I would also, there's reading Lolita in Tehran is, brilliant book. And it's had, I think anything that has that kind of cultural impact, needs to at least be acknowledged. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Alright.
Nice.
Moving on. Mm-hmm. The Catcher in the Rye has an unlikable protagonist. Because we're shooting this on the same day that we do our nonfiction thing, we were actually just talking about honesty. Catcher in the Rye is fiction, but it's a very honest book. Holden Caulfield is the personification of that part of ourselves that we don't like. Mm-hmm. That, restless, whiny part of ourselves that we don't like. So you don't have to like Catcher in the Rye. Mm-hmm. But if you don't, there's a good chance it's because Holden Caulfield reminds you of yourself. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. That's fair. In the course of the 277 pages, the reader wearies of his explicit repetition and adolescence, exactly as one would weary of Holden himself. No? Not doing that one. I'm gonna run on by these ones real fast. The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo focuses too much on the setting.
Okay, well, when your setting is Notre Dame, that's fair, right? Mm-hmm. It's a cool setting.
As the opening line betrays, his real interest was in the many historical buildings in France that, after the French Revolution, were falling into decay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. That's fine.
It's fine. So yeah.
Appreciate your setting. Read Hunchback of
Yeah.
My voice quit.
It's gone. It's all done.
Read Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's great.
I mean, I think you would
10
rather...
10 would defend.
Watch the movie.
I would rather watch
Disney
the movie.
For good old... Your favorite... Your homeboy... Frollo.
My homeboy Frollo.
Your homeboy Frollo. He has to be your homeboy because you don't fucking stop talking about him.
I won't.
Anytime Disney comes up, you're like, oh, Frollo, he's so cool. He's my favorite Disney villain. He's got really cool songs.
Uh-huh.
That's what you sound like.
Yep. I'm not gonna argue that. I'm not on trial.
Alright. I'm never gonna read any of these because I don't read classic books.
Read them.
I don't want to.
Read Pride and Prejudice.
I don't want to.
Is that the one I defended best?
Probably.
Read excerpts of Lolita. Yeah.
No, I'm definitely not doing that. So do you want to do your true thoughts?
Yes.
Okay, Pride and Prejudice.
I don't like Jane Austen. I respect Jane Austen, but you know what? Honestly, this was the best day that I could have possibly defended Pride and Prejudice because it's so much better than Persuasion. But yeah, it's like romance upon romance upon romance.
And you just don't do romance.
I don't like romance. I maybe shouldn't read Jane Austen.
Probably. Chronicles of Narnia.
It's like a lot of people do complain about. I think it's okay to work your beliefs into a series if you start out that way. Mm-hmm. Like it's not like people got really invested in a fantasy series and then got really religious and was like, bam, Jesus lion. Like
I was always under the impression it was like a religious kids series.
Yeah, it's like a religious kids series, and I don't have a problem with that. What bothers me about Chronicles of Narnia is it's kind of bland.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But it's fine.
It's okay. Ulysses.
Yeah, that's like if you want to take it seriously, it's like the retelling of Homer, except for it's boring.
Yeah,
it's bad. I wouldn't.
I was trying to. I forgot that I've read Ulysses because we read it in middle school. I just straight up forgot that I read it.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, did you read that, or did you read the Iliad?
No, it was Ulysses.
Really?
Yeah, it was, because it was, Miss Walker's.
In middle school?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think that's appropriate.
Huh? Why? It's okay, we read The Giver next.
Oh boy. Well, The Giver is acceptable, I feel like, to read in middle school.
Slap that baby out of your hand. It's gone. Oliver Twist.
I kind of like Oliver Twist.
I also like Oliver Twist.
It's like far from being my favorite Dickens, but it's good. I like it.
It's fine. I mean, it's got problematic language in it,
Yeah.
but I mean, everything from that time period has problematic language.
And again, that's one of those you can't erase classics just because they don't hold up to today's standards of correctness.
Right. You just gotta, I mean, you have to,
You can acknowledge that they're problematic. You can
Right.
and should acknowledge when stuff is problematic, but you can't necessarily hold everything to a current standard.
Mm-hmm. This isn't like a, he should have known better sort of thing. It's like, I mean, like, he should have,
Yeah.
but I mean, like, I guess.
But no one did.
But no one did. You didn't finish Don Quixote, did you?
I will one day.
Get the audiobook.
Yeah.
It'll be great. What the hell is Finnegan's Wake about? Is it actually about Finnegan's Wake? The song that I know?
Kind of.
Yeah.
They have like the same roots in there. It's a different story. It's the thing about James Joyce is like you get so lost in everything else. I haven't Finnegan's Wake is another one I haven't finished.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might have lost my copy like in the fire. I don't know if I have a copy of Finnegan's Wake anymore.
But
it's just like James Joyce as a writer,
it's boring.
you get so lost in all the stuff that doesn't matter, and then you like completely lose track of where you are and what is happening. It's hard to find the plot in a James Joyce novel.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you know,
That's
because
why
you
he's
flat out forgot.
I forgot about Ulysses a little bit. We already talked about Lolita.
Yeah.
We don't really need to talk about that anymore, I don't think.
Right.
Unless you want to.
I just kind of double down on my stance, because that wasn't a defense. I think there's a lot to learn from the style of writing.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm almost I don't know anything about Nabokov. Like, I don't know if, and the internet can call me out here, if he's like an okay dude that just wrote really creepy shit, he did a good job
Of writing creepy shit?
And assuming that he's not a good dude, like, it shows.
Like, I can't tell from this review if it's supposed to be like an exploitation novel. I can't tell what's going on.
What I took away from Lolita was definitely, I feel like you're supposed to be upset
Right.
by it. Which I'm hoping, because that's the correct tone to write something like that
Right.
with. That's definitely what I took away.
Mm-hmm.
But just like from a literary standpoint, I'll double down on that one. Because you can learn stuff from problematic stuff. And this this ended up being kind of timely, because it's just like with all of the call out culture lately, it's hard to enjoy things or acknowledge things sometimes. And I don't mind like boycotts and stuff, especially if it's like for people who are alive today, because like paying money to see stuff supports the creator, and then the creator continues to get away with stuff.
Right.
But like when you're reading classics, you know, I think you have to approach most classics with the idea that it's going to be problematic and that you can learn and acknowledge at the same time. It's like the same way I was kind of worried that Color Purple was going to be on here for the same reason, because it's like we live in a society where you no longer want to or should be defending Alice Walker, but it doesn't mean that The Color Purple didn't empower so many people.
Yeah.
Like that, or it inspired a lot of writers. It was very good at the things
That it did.
And just because Alice Walker ended up not being a good person, it doesn't undo the good things. Just like the good don't undo the bad.
Right.
That has to work both ways.
See, here's the thing, is because somebody can do a thing that's like, oh, this is really good. So it's my stance with Madoka, because, as it turns out, Madoka Magica is created by just a raging misogynist. So steal it.
Yeah.
I'm endorsing it on podcasts. Get it for free. Because I really do enjoy Madoka for the opposite reason. Because it came across in Western audiences as a very empowering story about self-sacrifice. It's not how it was written or how it came across to the Eastern audience. But so just steal that bad boy. Just get it off the internet.
Yeah.
It's out there. And I'm not giving you any links. You can't indict me for that.
And it's like, and that's one of the things is that, like, you can take away a message of empowerment from something even while not liking the person who wrote it. And that's, like, you've acknowledged it, but you like the parts that you like, and that's okay.
It's one of those, me and Ben have this conversation about One Piece a lot, because there are a lot of One Piece stuff that we really like, especially Ben loves One Piece. But fucking does Oda write women badly? Like, he's terrible. Like, it's cringeworthy.
Yeah.
A lot of the times. So it's like, Ben's always like, if I met him, I would shake his hand and then kill him on the spot. Because he does, like, a lot of things really good, and then it's just like, holy shit, dude, right? Have you met a woman?
Yeah.
Ever? Oh my god. But yeah, I think it all comes into acknowledging the problematic stuff, and if a creator's problematic, acknowledging that, but taking what you can that is good.
Yeah, and it's something, Pete Davidson right now, I don't know if you've read anything about Pete Davidson.
Nope.
This last week, he's taking a lot of slack, because he kind of did a monologue that was like the same gist of this, but it was on Weekend Update, so he was
so it's big.
So it was big, it got a lot of attention, and it was handled in a satirical way, which is not necessarily the tone to approach those topics with.
Right.
But he's been taking a lot of slack. But he kind of had a point where it's like, if you can acknowledge something is wrong, and especially if you can do it in a way that doesn't support, and his take on this was that he's going to donate $1 every time he listens to like an R. Kelly thing. He's going to donate to protect abuse victims, because he appreciates the music, and doesn't want to support. So, like, you mentioned pirating, but like if you have the ability and funds to donate to stuff, like it's okay to acknowledge that creators are wrong and bad sometimes.
Right. It's like, I do a lot of, like, because I do Spotify and I do Spotify Premium, I do my best to not listen to musicians that I don't like. And the thing is about me is, like, usually if I don't like a person, I don't like their music.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like R. Kelly or anything like that. So, but...
So that was an easy one, though.
That was an easy one to just chop off. Or like Chris Brown or anything like that. It's just like, I'm already not a fan of their music, but like, if I was, I'd be like, I wouldn't want to listen to them on Spotify because they would be getting money for that, and I'd find, like, a different way to do it, like YouTube or something.
Yeah.
Like, do what you can, while not sacrifice what you can, and do also what you can.
Yeah. And promote awareness where you can. Like, I try to... I've spent more time at this point in my life talking about Alice Walker than I did reading The Color Purple at this point. And it's like, a couple of my favorite movies growing up were like the Jeepers Creepers thing. And it's like, since then, I haven't, I like boycotted the third one when it came out, and I've spent as much time raising awareness about what a terrible person the director of Jeepers Creepers is as I have watching Jeepers Creepers. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's our little real defense in here.
Yeah.
I joined in on that.
Yep.
I'm supposed to be the judge. I'm supposed to be unmoved. We have to go back to not liking things. Catcher in the Rye. Did you like Catcher in the Rye?
I liked it, I feel like, more than the average person, but I'm glad to have read it. I wouldn't read it again.
One and done.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So for reference, the ones I left off the list, I left off The Sun Also Rises and also Little House on the Prairie, because they've got a lot of racist undertones.
Yeah.
And we're not going to talk about that. I wouldn't defend that.
For those of you, I would make somewhat of a case for Hemingway, just in the same Nabokov thing, where it's like, you can learn a lot from Hemingway without appreciating him or his work. I would never, on this podcast or any other podcast, you will never hear me say anything kind about Little House on the Prairie. Ever in my life.
Never again. Never at all.
So I'm glad you skipped that one.
You would have just,
flat out would
you would have murdered me.
Refused. Yeah.
The last one is The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's the only one I haven't read.
Oh.
I haven't read, I haven't started to read, I haven't abandoned. It's not on my to read,
I mean, that's fair.
But I might read it.
I mean, it's fucked up. You like fucked up shit.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of death.
I know that I've read like a lot of like adaptations of Hunchback, but I've never like.
I mean, does it really matter because Frollo doesn't sing Hellfire in it? Really?
Yeah, that's. I know they've taken out my favorite part of Hunchback of Notre Dame. They took it out of the book.
It was cut.
Yeah.
They resurrected that for Disney. Disney went hard. We can't end it on that sentence. That's bad.
My joke was actually that the book was based off of the Disney movie, but that's also. I like the idea that it was a
Victor Hugo.
Victor Hugo.
He took his pen name after the gargoyles.
Uh-huh.
God, I hate those fucking gargoyles so much.
Jason Alexander. Though.
Who?
Jason Alexander. He was one of the gargoyles. He played George on Seinfeld.
Oh, of course.
He was in my favorite adaptation of Cinderella.
Of course he was.
My favorite, like, the most notable things that Jason Alexander has done. Seinfeld, that one Cinderella adaptation where he played, like, the prince's squire or whatever he was. I don't even know. Had Whoopi Goldberg in it.
Was that, Ella Enchanted? Is that the one? Or, no. That's a different movie entirely.
That is a different movie.
I know the one you're talking about, I feel like.
Yeah.
Ever After? No. That's a different one. You know that one.
Yeah, the one.
Not either of those two things that I said.
Right.
That narrows it down.
It came out in between the cartoon and the Disney live-action Cinderella. It was, like, in between those two things. It
didn't have Kit Harington in it, though.
No. But it did have one of the gargoyles from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. His starring role in Hunchback of Notre Dame. That one gargoyle.
The real hero. We have to end. That's right now.
Okay. Next week on Devil's Advo-Cat, I defend myself for comments made in this episode of the Devil's Advo-Cat.
You're in for it, dude. R.I.P. So yeah, we're done. We're leaving.
Bye, guys.
Da 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 da.